Easy salmon glaze, take one. Alrighty, you wanted my recipe for a nice salmon glaze that's sweet and spicy. So here we go. I've already shot a picture of the ingredients, so that'll be later. Don't worry about that. Everything will be explained as we go along. Basically what we're doing is a lemon, the juice and the zest. Soy sauce, this one happens to be gluten-free. Chili powder, I've mixed this myself. This is hot New Mexico red chili powder and about 40 or 50% achiote powder, which gives it an interesting little flavor all its own. Also some chipotle powder, gives it some spice and smokiness. Dill weed, good on any fish. Roasted ground coriander, also yummy with fish. Olive oil and honey. Interesting little side note on the honey is if you get local raw honey, you tend to have fewer problems with allergies because the pollens that tend to be still in the honey will help fight your allergies and adapt your body to it. So that seems to work for me. So the first thing we're going to do is first we will zest our lemon. I'm just going to do half a lemon. This batch will be plenty for, I'd say, 1 1/3 pounds, 1.5 pounds easily. Even farther if you use skin-on salmon, in as much as all you have to do for the skin side is rub a little bit of olive or coconut oil on it. You don't need to waste this stuff on the skin side since that's just going to be peeled off anyway. So what I have is looks like a box grater, but it's actually a 6-sided microplane, so be careful with your fingers. Just gonna zest off this lemon half. That'll be added to the glaze also. You know how to zest, but if anybody watches this that doesn't know how to zest, you have the deep yellow part. That's the part you want. When you get into the white part, that part is bitter. There's a difference between bitter and sour. Lemons are sour, not bitter. The inside, bitter. Don't want that. So, just want the oily skin of the lemon. This also expresses enough of the citrus oil into it in addition to the olive oil that it will cook your fish more evenly without letting it burn. So here we are. Okay, we will set that aside and add that later. What we will do now, juice your little lemon puppy. I love lemons, so this is a good recipe for lemon lovers. If you're not so fond of lemon, I don't know, I'm guessing you probably won't like this very much. One little seed got through. That wasn't bad. Okay, How much do we have here? Probably about 1/8 of a cup. Do approximately the same amount of soy sauce. This gives you a savory component at the same time as you get some of the salt component. So that works nicely. All this is just emulsified with a fork. So here comes the spice part. So the spices keep going in until this turns into a fairly thick slurry. So if you have a little restrictor on your spice container, probably want to take that off, because we are going to be adding a lot, because we want this to be thicker so that it stays on the fish a little bit longer. Also, the order that we mix this stuff up is very important, because if you add the oil too soon, it will keep the dry ingredients from absorbing the liquid from the lemon juice and the soy sauce. So that will just keep your sauce from thickening up. So don't be shy of adding the spicy parts, because if your spices are new, they will be more flavorful than they will be hot. So don't be afraid of that. Notice how this is already starting to thicken up. That's a good thing. A little bit of the chipotle powder. That gives it some smokiness and some heat. Same thing with the dill weed. Quite a bit goes in here, don't worry about it. Notice everything is carefully measured. Roasted coriander. Also, pop the top off, because I want to get some of this guy in here too, and for some reason it likes to clump up. So. And here's the interesting part. You're going to be emulsifying the olive oil in with this, and it will get thinner. However, at the end, when you add the honey being thick, this is a weird little chemistry experiment here. The thick honey will thin this glaze. Don't ask me how that happens. I haven't figured that out yet. That is just the way it is. So let's put the lemon zest in here now. I just grated this on a piece of wax paper so it would be easier to slide in. Not as easy as I thought. Alrighty. Here we go. It's come off nice and thick. That's a good thing. Maybe a little thicker than I wanted, so you can always thin it out with a little more soy sauce. That's not going to hurt anything. So, nice and thick. That's fine. Now we get to emulsify this little rascal. So you know how to do this. Just start to drizzle this in as you beat your glaze. This isn't too hard to emulsify. It doesn't cause too much of a problem going in, so that works pretty easily. Just trickle it slowly as you're beating it in, and it will be just fine. Just fine. get enough oil in here so that the oil will transmit and moderate a lot of the heat. So it will help your fish cook without burning. And when I grill fish, I do a combination of direct mesquite charcoal grilling and smoke. So what this does is it imparts a little bit less smoke than just a full smoked fish, where you're only pulling warm, smoky, moist air across the fish. This has the benefit of cooking it a little bit quicker right over the coals, but it still gets the smoky component. So it's good for people that don't like quite as much smoke in their fish. And one of those does live here. I like a lot of smoke, but not everybody does. So this has grown by how much? Let's see. Can we see? This is right about a 1/4 cup, so it's basically doubled, maybe a little bit more from when I just put the lemon juice in. So this has integrated pretty well. If you're having trouble with it getting thick, you can always, and you don't want to add any more spicy dry ingredients, try just leaving it out at room temperature for 15 minutes to a half an hour. It just gives the dry ingredients a lot more time to absorb the liquid and then stiffen up on you so that you don't have quite as much of the spicy component, but it still thickens up enough that it's going to hang around on your fish long enough to flavor it. Also, if you don't stick your silicone brush in this when you brush it on the fish, it's not going to contaminate this glaze, so you can use leftovers for the next time that you grill fish. It's pretty stable in the refrigerator. I've kept it in there for a couple of months and it hasn't gone rancid or anything, and it worked, if anything, even better because it firmed up even more. So sometimes the recipe doesn't come out quite as thick as I want, and it will continue to thicken up in the refrigerator, so that's a good thing. Also, by not contaminating it, you can use a little bit extra on your fish after it's done and plated, because, for instance, I like more of this glaze right on top. Other people don't want quite that strong of a flavor, but there's your option. You can always add more after the fish is cooked, and it's even yummier. It even works good on leftover salmon that comes out of the refrigerator. I think it's even better than the hot salmon a lot of times. It just gives all of those flavors more time to balance out and coalesce. So here we are. We have, looks like a little bit over a 1/4 cup, maybe a 1/3 cup of glaze. This is plenty to do about 1 1/3 pounds of skin on fresh wild caught salmon. Now the last little deal here is honey. You give it a good squirt of honey. You want the sweet component in there to balance out the savory component. So here is how thick this stuff is now. And you'll notice that putting in honey, it will actually thin out quite a bit. Don't ask me how you can add something thick to something thick and it becomes thinner. I haven't figured that one out yet, but here we go. You saw the honey in there. It was fairly thick. Now look at the consistency. Pretty interesting. But this is still good enough to hang around on the fish pretty effectively. You can put a little bit more of the dry ingredients in at this point. It's not going to integrate quite as effectively, but it will. I guess we can try that just so you can kind of see how this works. A little bit more goes in here. It will thicken it up a little bit, but as I told you, with the oil in there already, it kind of prevents it from sinking in too much. It doesn't let it uptake the liquid as effectively as before the oil component was put in. So let's keep going here, see what we can do. Yeah, there we go. That tightened it up quite a bit. Not bad. That's pretty good right there. So what I usually do is just put this stuff just in a drink glass, a little plastic wrap on top, and it's good to go. I a lot of times make it just before I cook the salmon. Other times I make it a day ahead of time and put it in the refrigerator. Like I said, I think that works a little bit better because it gives it more time to meld all the flavors together and thicken up a little bit more. So there you go. As far as grilling the salmon, it gets grilled as far from the charcoal as your grill will let you go. And then I just put soaked mesquite or alder is the go-to wood, smoke wood if you're going to be doing salmon, but a heavier wood, heavier smoke wood like mesquite or hickory will work well too. And as much as since we are cooking this over direct heat, you're not going to have it in contact with the smoke as much, so you're not going to get that strong of a smoky flavor. So it's not as critical that you use a light smoke wood like a fruit wood, like an apple wood, or even alder. So you can get away with a wood that produces heavier smoke and still get a good result. When I grill it over a somewhat low heat. My grill shows about 300 degrees when I put it on. I put it in a grill basket so that you don't have to worry about it falling through. All grill baskets are fairly similar. It's just two pieces that clamp the fish together with a small grate so that it stays intact and doesn't fall apart on your grill. And it's easier to flip since it has a handle. Works handy, works fast. It's a little longer to clean up afterwards, but if you soak it, it's not that bad. At 300 degrees, I basically give it 5 and 5. 5 minutes, flip it over, another 5 minutes, it's usually good to go. I like my salmon a little on the rare side. Other people want it a little more well done. If they want it a little more well done, then probably only another minute or two with the skin side up will cook it as thoroughly as you want without drying it out. 10 minutes total will give you really moist, tender fish that will almost melt in your mouth. But only if it's fresh caught. If it's ever been frozen, I have never been able to get a good result with that. I've tried different cooking temperatures, different cooking times. The glaze won't even keep it moist. It just tends to tighten up and get drier. So fresh salmon is the only way to go. There you are. I don't know what else I can add. That's it. Quick salmon recipe. It took 20 minutes with all the explanation. If you have all the stuff out, you can put this together in about 5. It's not that bad. So, there you are. If you have any questions, give me a call.